Carol Ambergy from Artful Learning. This is a project for primarily kindergartners, and it is literature based. I always love to incorporate as much literature in my teaching as possible. So it's not just about the finished product, but it's also about the means that we get there. This is a sample of what we are going to do. The children are going to hear the story, If the Dinosaurs Came Back, by Bernard Most. This is a children's favorite all around. After they hear the story, they will complete their own dinosaur with a pop of color and learn how to make a cityscape background, much as in the story itself. So we're going to be working with math skills, we're going to be working with community helpers, we're going to be talking about size and also about cityscapes, about drawing and recognizing math shapes, very essential for early learners. I also like that this is probably a 2-day project, 1 day to make the dinosaur, another day to make the city. That is a great thing because today so many children are in a rush to complete something and take it home. This is not like a video game where you play it for 15 minutes and you're done. This is actually going to teach them patience and understanding that a quality thing takes a while to do. I always start this lesson by reading and sharing the book with the class. So after we discuss the book, we discuss the illustrations. Notice that you can notice from these pages that the main pop of color comes from the dinosaur. So the next part of this is that your child needs to decide which dinosaur he or she would like to create for their picture. So I kind of limited it to either Brontosaurus or Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, and T-Rex. Those seem to be some of the favorites, and they lend themselves well to this project. So for the first day of this project, I let the children decide which dinosaur they would like to use. And for simplicity's sake, I either did Brontosaurus or Allosaurus, T-Rex or Stegosaurus. I make my own tracers, like this T-Rex and this Stegosaurus. If you wanted to make the easiest one, I would suggest the Brontosaurus because the lines are fairly just curvy. So let your child pick out the dinosaur he or she wants, and then, because this is kindergarten and because I was doing it in a classroom situation, I often would trace these dinosaurs before the kids came to class. That way they could just pick the one that they wanted. I found that saved a lot of time because it is truly a learning skill to hold the tracer still. Sometimes it's a great thing to work with a partner. A partner holds your dinosaur while you trace around it. You hold the partner's dinosaur. So after that is traced, whether you trace it for them or they trace it, the next thing you want to do is paint this dinosaur. So you have the dinosaur all on here, all traced around, and this is where fun begins, fun number 2. I like to use neon paints with this. So if you have neon paints, it just adds an extra little pop of color. If you don't have neon paints or you don't want to get involved with painting, that is why we have colored oak tag. Okay, so this one I just did, I traced this T-Rex on the pink oak tag, and you can find this at any dollar store, very inexpensive. It does save you a bit of mess for painting the dinosaur. Okay, so whether this is painted or whether this is just cut out from colored paper, this is how you're going to complete your dinosaur. But I will tell you, painting is much more fun. So the second part of this, after you have finished your dinosaur and set that aside, we are going to make this a cityscape. And that's kind of important because Bernard Most has many different places that his dinosaurs actually visit when they return. But we're going to talk about cities and cityscapes. This was really important because the children that I taught mostly lived in rural communities. So it's good for them to recognize what buildings and things occur in a city. So I would suggest, first of all, that we might want to make a road at the bottom of our 18 by 12 white piece of paper. The road is going to be where the dinosaurs actually are going to stand on. So hopefully I can do this road upside down here. Okay. If my line was very straight, I would point out to them that this one line and these two edges also created a shape. And hopefully they would be able to tell me that it was a rectangle. So the road is our first shape. And then I would ask the children to name me some other shapes. And of course they're going to say, oh, well, maybe a square. So I have a square. I do have a square tracer. I'm just using it to show you. I have with some classes given them shapes like this so they could trace around them. They don't need to trace around them. They can just do freehand. It's really good learning experience for the kids. I always use markers because Bernard Most used black lines. Markers also teach us many things, like go slowly because you can't erase. Okay, so this would be one building. Then I would ask the children, can you think of any other shapes that we could use in our city? Hopefully they're going to say a rectangle. So now they can freehand draw the rectangle. I usually do a sample with them before I turn them loose. So I might make this a very tall building. They might tell me it is a skyscraper. If your children live in a rural area, they might not be too familiar with skyscrapers. Okay, I'm gonna leave my skyscraper, whoops, just like that. Ta-da! And then somebody might say, oh, but sometimes skyscrapers have a point on the top. That's right. So if I make a point on the top of this skyscraper, I'm actually adding another shape. And I would wait for them to tell me, oh, that's a triangle. So now we have two buildings. Can we put a little building in here? Of course we can. Are all buildings the same size in a city? Absolutely not. Let's do a bigger building. Oh, I have room for, whoa, I almost have room for this huge building right here. Now, you might be wondering if it's okay for your child to use a ruler, and I would say absolutely. It's a little easier for you to do it one at a time, one-on-one, teaching how to use draw a straight line with a ruler. That's totally your preference and your call. So now these look like good shapes, but they need some more details to make these look like buildings. So on this building, I might say to them, it looks like it needs a sign. I think I'll make a small rectangle here. Oh yes, I'm going to put something on here. I think I'll make a sign for my building. Oh, it's a bank. So now we're starting doing some labeling. What's the bank made out of? A rectangle. and a triangle. So next thing, we want to add lots of doors. This is a pretty big building. Oops, sorry for my crooked line. This is a pretty big building, so I'm going to make this a big door. Too big for one door. Let's make it two. Oh, now I have two triangles made from one triangle, and that becomes like a double door. I think I'm going to name this building too. I think I'll just put another sign here, also made from a triangle, and I guess I'm trying to do it like a kindergartner. And I think I will call this one the community, and they will probably come up with college, or maybe when they see the letter H, community hospital. So, all right, so you're going to continue decorating your other buildings just by using doors and windows. Let me show you some samples of other ones that I have already done. So this one would be like an apartment building. This one has some arches. Here's another bank with an open sign. Here is maybe a large store. So again, your child is going to take his or her time, add the windows needed, add doors, add all of those details. I even made some little fancy columns to go on the bank. So this would give me a really good idea of what experiences the children had had in the city. So this will take some time to complete this project. Now, notice everything is still black and white. That's because we're going to put our very colorful dinosaur on it. So, after that is all done, your town is all designed, your city is rather, then we are going to put your dinosaur in front of the building. That's interesting. Okay. Then the kids, of course, are going to say, we need some people. This is where you have them tell you, well, what kinds of people would be working in the city? This is a good introduction to community helpers. Oh, there's a hospital that we did on the other side. We need lots of windows in this hospital. Let's make some nurses going in. Yeah, that's a great idea. Kids come up with some very clever things. Oh, here's a bank. Maybe there's a bank robber that needs to be drawn up here, riding this dinosaur. Maybe your child would want to put a picture of himself or herself in here, taking the dinosaur for a walk. Is it okay if your dinosaur hangs off the page? Absolutely. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be colorful, and it is full of learning. A fun project. So this is one of the many sample drawings that I generated with the information that the children gave to me in the classroom about what they wanted to include in their city. We have, as you can see, a hotel and a hospital and a church. So as I was putting on these windows, we talked about different shapes that they were. We talked about how this might be one big apartment or room for this fancy hotel. We talked about the signs. We also talked about what details we could add. This started out as a skyscraper and ended up as a church with a church window and a bell. In one of the drawings that the kids had me do, they wanted the hospital to have a heliport, so we had a little helicopter landing zone on the top. So after your city is finished and your discussion is done, then What the kids need to do is to glue their dinosaur wherever they want to onto their city. Okay, so you can put the dinosaur on the road. This one seems to have a sidewalk and not a road, and that's fine. So I use glue stick, lots and lots of glue stick to put this on. The last thing that we need to add is, and I don't have any on this one, but I think you can see them on some of the other examples, is the people. Now, we talked about what workers we would find near these buildings, and they came up with ideas like everything from street cleaners, bus drivers, people who work at the hospital, people who might work at the bank or the hotel. So you can see from their own drawings, their own samples, that they put a lot of these people in it, gave it a lot of thought. Some of them made a real story out of it. I especially like them if they include a little picture using Sharpie of themselves. Maybe they are taking their pet dinosaur for a walk. Maybe their parents are riding on the back of this dinosaur. So there's lots of creativity going on here. The final thing we could do with this is, when they are finished, especially good in a classroom, is to have the children share their story about if the dinosaur came back. I find that this is a very comforting lesson, and I have enjoyed presenting it to you. Have fun with your kids.